Alright, so today we're going to go over soldering and setting up the KISS 32 amp ESCs. Pretty much this goes for any ESC you're going to be soldering up. I guess the first part, make sure you have a good soldering iron. I typically like to have my soldering iron set up for about 650 degrees Fahrenheit. I feel like that overall gives me the best, I guess, heat and timing to make the solder stick. I've tried sometimes going a little hotter. Don't know if I've really seen a benefit in doing so. As a matter of fact, the one or two circuit boards I did solder at a higher temperature didn't come out as good, and actually had errors with those. So went back down to 650. It works for me. If I'm soldering battery leads or the battery connections onto a flight controller, I'll go a little bit higher. But typically for this kind of work, I do stick with 650 degrees Fahrenheit. Pardon me while I get some tools here. Just reset up. Pair of helping hands. It does help, I guess, as the name implies. I use these primarily just to hold the ESC or whatever I'm soldering down to my board. In this case, I'll just simply do that. Applies pressure to the ESC and kind of holds it in place, so as I'm soldering, it doesn't move on me. And it works. Simple. So we're going to get ready. I typically use a little bit of Flux. In this case, this is what I've been using. It's no clean Flux dispensing pen. It's super easy to use. Kind of go over the contacts with the pen, and then follow it up with actually soldering these things. So simple to use. Just kind of brush it on across all contacts, and then we're pretty much good to solder. Even though it says no clean, go ahead when you're done and spray it with alcohol and clean it. It does help. So now when you're tinning these, make sure you get some solder onto your soldering iron first. Get the tip on there, and typically I start at one side and kind of feed the solder to it and work my way across until I get that nice kind of pillow on there. These middle ones, or these middle smaller connectors for ground, telemetry, and signal, they already have solder on them, but I go ahead and just kind of re-tin those. And again, for this last pad, make sure you got a good pillow of solder on there. Go ahead and do the rest of these. Okay, so everything's tinned up, everything's ready to go. Now we're going to take some isopropyl alcohol and clean these up. Simply just take your alcohol, just use a toothbrush, spray the ESC and just clean it up, give it a good brushing. Go ahead and clean both sides because it's you'll kind of get the flux will kind of leak off to both sides, and usually when I'm done, I'm using a spray bottle. I go ahead and kind of just do a couple quick hard sprays to kind of flush any kind of surface residue away. Seems to work, seems to get pretty good. Don't really ever have any issues. Alright, we'll go ahead and let this dry and get ready for the next step. Thanks.